Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Easter. So glad to see you all. My name is Joe. I'm one of the pastors here, and just like Raquel mentioned, I want to give a special welcome to all of our young ones who are in the room with us today. If you're an elementary age student, would you raise your hand so I can kind of see where you are? There's a couple. There's like a bunch over here, a few over here. Great. Good to see you guys. I'm really glad that you're in the room. I want to get something out of the way up front so we can just deal with it right now and kind of see where the day takes us. So we had 2 services last night and 2 services this morning already, and we had over 300 bags of candy for kids that were made, and we ran out of candy. But never fear, I've got the CVC Candy Crew on the radio, and they are out scouring Cleveland to find the last remnants of Easter candy. They actually might get a discount today, who knows? So we're going to go ahead and check in, kids. Never fear, they're on the job. We're going to see kind of where things are at. Candy Crew, come in, Candy Crew.
Candy Crew copy. Pastor Joe, it's been a little crazy getting this candy.
Okay. Well, I need to know what you mean by crazy.
Well, we passed through the 7 levels of the candy cane forest, through the sea of swirly, twirly gumdrops, and then we walked through the Lincoln Tunnel. I don't know how we ended up there, but anyway, we made our way back. We had to bribe some construction workers to get through construction on the way back. We had to give them all of our Reese's eggs. So it was all we could do, but we're close. We're getting really close.
Okay. Well, Candy Crew, it sounds like you're pretty far away. So define pretty close, because I've got about 100 kids in the room that are not going to be happy if you don't come back with some candy.
Oh, Pastor Joe, if the wind shifts, the kids might start smelling the chocolate. We're that close.
Do you guys smell the chocolate yet? I don't smell the chocolate yet.
Listen, we're almost there. Tell them to hang tight. We're not letting Easter happen without candy.
All right, Candy Crew, we are counting on you.
Roger that.
Kids, I just wonder if the candy got here and I said to you, hey guys, the candy is here, but you can't have any. How would that make you feel? Sad, angry. There was a little guy in the first service yesterday, and he was sitting there all polite with his mom and dad, and I said, hey, how would you feel if I said there was candy here and you can't have any? And his brow scrunched like that. And he looked at me, shot daggers at me, man. Here's the thing, kids and adults. It's not enough just to know some facts about the candy. It's not enough just to know that the candy is here, right? You actually want to have the candy in your possession and eat the candy. Adults, we know this same problem, right? January, February, March in Ohio, it is not enough just to see the Caribbean cruise commercial. You want to be on the Caribbean cruise. It's not enough. Like high schoolers, middle schoolers, it's not enough just to know that your favorite band is on tour. You actually want to be in the audience when the lights come up for your favorite concert. In much the same way, Easter is not only about us knowing facts. See, sometimes on Easter at church, and we've done this before, there's nothing wrong with this approach. Sometimes churches try to show all of the evidence that Jesus did indeed come back to life. Well, this morning, we're going to work from the presumption that he did come back to life. Because I want to move past the facts, as good as the facts are, and show you that Easter is about also knowing a person, knowing the person of Jesus Christ. Well, if that's where Easter is centered, then we've got to know why following Jesus, why Jesus matters. Why so much hubbub and to-do over Jesus, right? Why do we talk about him? Why do we celebrate Good Friday? And why do we celebrate like this on Easter? Well, I'm going to tell you why to kind of set up our talk today. See, the Bible tells us that God, in his love, has a perfect design for humanity. He thought of everything. Our relationships, our health, our time, our work, our money. God has a design for everything. Well, as humans, we tend to want to do things our way and don't always follow God's design. And the Bible calls that sin. Sin leads us away from God's design into a place called brokenness. And we see the results of brokenness all over our world and throughout our lives, in our families, in our homes, in our schools, in our government, and around the world. We see the effects of brokenness. Well, we don't want to feel that way. We don't like to feel worried and sad and anxious and disconnected and at conflict with others. And so we try to get out of the brokenness ourselves. We try different tactics, like maybe a new relationship. Maybe if I can make a little bit more money and buy myself some nice things, I'll feel a little bit better for a little while. Maybe if I eat the right food or work out at the gym a little bit more, I can get out of this brokenness. Or sometimes we try religion. Well, none of those things ever work. They don't last very long. I think adults, each of us know that. We have tried and tried and tried to fix things on our own, and we come up empty. Well, God in his great love for us has actually made a way to escape brokenness and get back to his design. And it is through Jesus. That's why he's such a big deal. We call that the gospel or the good news. See, Jesus is God the Son. And he willingly left heaven, came to earth, and he lived a perfect life. He never sinned. He never moved away from the Father's design. And so you would think if somebody lives that way, they get a reward. Well, what Jesus got was the cross. Jesus was murdered by the Romans and the Jews, but he willingly went to that cross because something supernatural, something miraculous happened on that cross. Because of Jesus' love for you and for me, he exchanges his perfect life for our sinful life. If we would believe in him and ask for his forgiveness. And then he provides for us a pathway back to God's design, to recover God's original design for our lives so that we can live the best possible life now and in eternity in heaven with him. And so that's why Jesus is at the center of all this. The facts are important. I hope you will read a book. If you don't believe that the resurrection is real, there's some great resources out there. But I want to show you that Easter is more than facts. It's actually about knowing a person, the person of Jesus Christ. And we're going to look at two short stories in the Bible this morning about people that met Jesus after he came back to life. See, the Bible actually never tells us about what happened in that tomb Sunday morning. There wasn't a webcam in there so that we could know what exactly happened. Every single narrative, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, picks up after Jesus has come back to life. And what happens after Jesus comes back to life? He meets real people right in their real problems. And I just want to show you two of them this morning. The first is this, that knowing Jesus brings us joy in the middle of sadness. Knowing Jesus brings us joy in the middle of sadness. We're going to be in the book of John today, chapter 20. If you have a Bible, I'd invite you to open there with me. If you don't, it'll be on the screens. And if you would like a Bible and you don't have one, or your son or daughter would like one, we'd be glad to give you one on the way out. Just ask any of our team. Again, they have the blue shirts and the green lanyards. Say, hey, Joe said I could have a Bible, and they would gladly give you one. John chapter 20, beginning in verse 1. Now, on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early. So this is about a woman named Mary. It's not Jesus' mother. It's a different Mary. She comes to the tomb early while it's still dark, excuse me, and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. So when they talk about the stone, graves in those days were kind of like a cave, and so a stone would go in front of them. Verse 2, so she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, they have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him. Mary is extraordinarily sad in this moment, and I want to tell you why. Mary had made some choices in her life that she was not proud of, that brought her a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, and had caused other people in her community to sort of look down upon her. Well, when Jesus comes along into Mary's life, he doesn't treat her with contempt. He doesn't shame her. He actually extends love and compassion and kindness to Mary. And he calls Mary out of her old sinful life to know and follow him. And Mary had been doing that for several years. And when Jesus dies, it is extraordinarily painful for her. And now, on top of that, she comes to the tomb, and it seems like Jesus' enemies have stolen his body out of the tomb. Kids, maybe you've had a moment in your life where you were sad. Maybe somebody that you love got sick, or maybe passed away. Maybe somebody was mean to you at school, or maybe you got in trouble because you disobeyed mom and dad. We can all understand, I think, at least a little bit of what Mary is feeling. She's crying. The Bible says she's weeping at the tomb, and then Jesus meets her. Now, at first, it's interesting. It tells us that Mary doesn't recognize him, and we're not sure why. It may be because it's still dark. It's still early, it says, before the sun had risen. It may be because her eyes are filled with tears. It might be a combination of those things. But I want to show you what happens that causes Mary to finally recognize him. Let's pick it up in verse 15. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." And Jesus said to her, "Mary." And she turned and said to him in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. I love that Jesus meets Mary right in the middle of her sadness and her grief. He doesn't try to cheer her up. He doesn't kind of go, "Hey, Mary, look, it's me, Jesus. Turn that frown upside down." He doesn't give her a theology lesson. He meets her in a very personal way. Have you ever had somebody call your name, and just the way that they say your name, you recognize the intimacy that you have with that person? Kids, maybe you've been at an amusement park or a playground or a store, and you lose your parents, but then you hear them calling your name, and it pierces through, and you can tell that's mom's voice, or that's dad's voice. My wife started this thing years ago. I'll admit it's a little bit embarrassing. She cacaws at our children. It cuts right through all the cacophony, no matter where we are at. My children are 18 and 19 now. They're not little. And she will go, "Cacaw!" And they come running. It's kind of become a thing even in our high school. We help with a high school small group here, and when everybody arrives, the adults meet upstairs for prayer and prep, and the kids go down into the basement. There's some games down there. When it's dinner time, Linda goes over to the door and caw, and all the kids know that it's time to come up for dinner. And I share that story because there's a personal connect there, right? Like when Linda cacaws, we know that it's her. And when Jesus says Mary's name, she knows that it's him. And she doesn't ask him a bunch of questions, at least right here. She doesn't say, oh my goodness, how did this happen? She doesn't say, give me all the details. She just says, my teacher. As if to say, it's you. I don't need to know all the details. As long as you're here, everything is going to be okay. Look, I don't want to put a damper on Easter and the celebration, but I do want to be honest that some of you came to Easter Sunday and all of the clapping and the singing and the happy is a little bit tough for you because you've had a hard week or a hard month or a hard year. And I think it's important that you know that Jesus isn't asking you to pretend that everything is okay. He's willing to meet you right in the middle of your sadness. You can have genuine joy that surpasses all of the circumstances in life when you know and have a relationship with Jesus. See, it's not that everything becomes easy. It's that Jesus promises that he will walk with us through all of life's valleys. That's what it means to know him personally and not just facts about him. Knowing Jesus brings us joy in the middle of sadness. And secondly, it brings us hope in the middle of disappointment. Hope in the middle of disappointment. The second person I want to introduce you to, and there's only two. Don't worry, I don't have a 10-point sermon. Just two. The second person I want to introduce you to is a man. Hello? Oh, there it went. Sorry, I thought it died for a second. And the thing that's interesting about Thomas is he's kind of gotten a rap for being the doubter. We call him Doubting Thomas, or maybe you've heard that phrase. But I actually think there's more going on here. I think Thomas is dealing with some serious disappointment. See, what Thomas had done is he had left his whole life to go and follow Jesus. He had trusted that Jesus was the anointed one of God that was going to come and lead Israel into a new season of flourishing. And for a long time, it looked like things were looking up. Jesus was gaining popularity. Everywhere that he preached, thousands of people would show up. He was healing people, and things were on a pretty good trajectory. Well, then some religious leaders and some political leaders get sideways with Jesus, and he ends up dead on a cross. And Thomas basically throws his hands up and says, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to get suckered back into this. I tried the whole God thing once. I'm out. And we see that in the way that Thomas responds to his fellow disciples. See, after Jesus meets Mary, he actually goes and talks to the disciples, but Thomas isn't there when Jesus shows up. And I want to read for you what happens when he comes back. Verse 24. Now Thomas, one of the 12, called the twin, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, we have seen the Lord. But he said to them, unless I see in his hands the mark of the nails, and place my finger into the mark of the nails, and place my hand into his side, I will never believe. That's not just doubt. Thomas has drawn a line in the sand. I mean, these other 11 disciples that he has done life with for the last 3 years tell him, he's alive, man. We saw him. And he goes, I don't care what you say. Unless he's standing in front of me and I see the holes in his hands, I'm not buying into this again. I'm not going to be disappointed again. I'm not going down this road one more time. And maybe you're here today this Easter and you're a little bit disappointed or disenfranchised with God, just like Thomas. Sure, you're like, hey, I'll go on Easter because my spouse wants me to go or grandma wants me to come to Easter. But don't expect me to lean into the whole God thing. Maybe something in your life didn't turn out like you had hoped it would, and so you've got a beef with God. Maybe there was a church that you went to before that caused you some pain in some way. And so now you approach church and Jesus and God from an arm's length. Maybe there are people in your life or on your Facebook feed that claim to be Christians and act without love, without compassion, and without grace towards others. And you go, if that's what knowing Jesus is about, count me out. Well, the great thing about all of us who have some disappointment or some doubt is that Jesus will meet us right there too. Verse 26, 8 days later, his disciples were inside again, and Thomas was with them. Although the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and see my hands. And put out your hand and see the place in my side. Do not disbelieve, but believe." Thomas answered him, "My Lord and my God." And Jesus said to him, "Have you believed because you've seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." See, God is able to see the whole picture of your life. And sometimes what looks hopeless is not what it seems to be. God is God, and I'm not. And you're not. And Thomas is not. And Thomas, what he had done is he had wrapped all of who Jesus was into this one moment and said, because things didn't turn out the way I thought they should have turned out, I'm out. And Jesus, I just love the way Jesus responds. He doesn't walk into the room and shame Thomas or embarrass him in front of the other 12. He doesn't yell at him or give him a lecture. He just meets Thomas right there in the doubt, but he actually goes a step further and he won't allow Thomas to stay there. He pushes him beyond facts. See, Thomas wants to know the facts. I want to see the holes in your hands. I want to see the hole in your side where the spear went through. Unless I see those things, I'm not going to believe. And Jesus is really kind to Thomas. He goes, "Look, put your hand in the hole." But then he calls Thomas further. He says, "Thomas, if you believe just because you have seen, that's not enough. Relationship with me," Jesus says, "comes from trusting me even when you don't see all of the answers. Even when you don't understand all of what I'm doing. Even when you're in the middle of disappointment or being disenfranchised or discouraged or filled with doubt, I need you to still trust me and know that I have the whole picture in view." Now, notice what Thomas says. He doesn't say, "Oh, now I understand everything, Jesus." He doesn't say, well, that answers all my questions. He responds very personally, just like Mary does. He says, "My Lord and my God." My Lord, I'm going to follow you, and my God, I'll follow you because I can trust you. See, if you're here this weekend and you're discouraged or disenfranchised or you're doubting, I just want to let you know, people and institutions will always let you down. always. And this weekend, it might be that Jesus is saying to you, I'm not asking you to trust in another person. I'm not asking you to trust in their comments on Facebook. I'm not asking you to trust in somebody's politics. I'm not asking you to trust in a specific church or an institution or a religion. I'm asking you to trust me. Because Jesus is infinitely trustworthy. And you can bring all of your doubt and all of your disappointment right to him. And he's patient enough to walk with you through it. He's not going to yell at you or berate you. He's okay if it's a slow walk back towards him. Easter is not just about knowing facts. It is about knowing a person. And for some of you today, you walked in and you don't know Jesus at all, just like Lindsay prayed a few minutes ago. And I just want to encourage you, maybe today is the day that you take that first step to move out of brokenness and back towards God's design for your life through the person and work of Jesus Christ. Because he lived the life that you could never live, and he died the death that you deserve to die, and he rose from the grave so that you could experience new life, both now and forever. And so you can talk right to God today. The Bible calls it prayer. And there aren't any magic words that you have to say. You can just talk to him and say something like this: Jesus, I feel the brokenness in my life regularly, and I have tried 100 things. And yes, I'm sad today, I'm mourning today, or I'm discouraged today, I'm angry today, whatever it may be. But I'm coming to you today, and I'm placing my faith in you. Would you forgive me of my sins? I don't know what this looks like yet, but I trust you. One of my favorite stories, one of my best friends, the way that he started his relationship with Jesus is he heard a message similar to this one, and he went out on his balcony that night, and he talked to God, and here's what he said: Jesus, I don't know if what these people are saying about you is true, but if it is, I want whatever you've got. It was that simple. And maybe that's you today. If you would like to know more about trusting Jesus, I know most of you are going to head right out of here because you have Easter plans. There's a little QR code on the back of your seat, or you can always go to cvconline.org/connect, and there's a little button that says Trusting Jesus. It'll give you some more information about what it looks like to start a relationship with Jesus, and if you'd like to, there's a button where you can connect with us so that we can help you in that journey. For those of you who are discouraged or disenfranchised or disappointed, my hope is that Easter 2026 would be a day where you would give God one more chance, where you wouldn't put your faith in a person or in a political party or in a specific church, but that you would come to Jesus because he can be trusted. And he loves you, and he wants to continue to guide you out of that brokenness into God's intended design for your life. And we would love to walk with you. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room, people who call CVC home. But if you're not, I would just say, don't make Easter just the one time you come a year, or Easter and Christmas Eve. Come back next week. We would love to walk out this journey with you. You're going to, you can just look on the stage. We have young people, we have old people, we have people in sport coats, and Carl's going to come up and sing, and he's going to have his work boots on here in just a second. We come from all backgrounds, all colors, all nationalities, and we're just pretty regular people that believe that Jesus can guide us out of brokenness back into God's design for our life. And so we hope that you would join us and that Easter would not be the end of our relationship with you. Let's pray as we close our time together. Father, I thank you for every person in this room, and I thank you that you are perfectly trustworthy, that you are kind, that you're compassionate, that you don't shame us, that you don't berate us. You tell us in your word that you are gentle and humble and lowly in spirit, and that we can come to you with all of our burdens and exchange them for your life and for your leadership. And so, God, there are hundreds of people in this room, and each of them need you to meet them in a very personal way, just like you did with Mary and just like you did with Thomas. And so I pray that you would do that this Easter, that it wouldn't just be about the trip to church. We go to church on Easter, that's what we do. But that people would actually encounter you today, that there would be great conversations in the car rides home and around the dinner table. And we pray, Lord, that many who are far from you would take a step back towards you, and that those who do not yet know you would step into relationship with you today. We trust you to do that work. We ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, I preached 1 minute over, so I gave the Candy crew plenty of time to figure this whole thing out. Let me see what we've got. Candy crew, I hope you got good news for me.
Candy crew copy. Joe, Pastor Joe, you're not going to believe this.
Oh no, what am I not going to believe?
Well, we hit the candy mother load and we've arrived. The candy's here, secured, and we're ready for distribution.
All right, how did that sound, kids? The candy is here, and apparently they hit the mother load. This guy's really excited.
I did eat all the Sour Patch Kids, though. I'm so sorry.
All right, Candy crew, were you able to scrounge up some Reese's eggs? Those are my favorite.
All the Reese's eggs, Pastor Joe. We got all the Reese's eggs.
Sounds good. Mom and dad, grandmas and grandpas, aunts and uncles, if you have a young one with you, when you head out, they're going to get a few things. One, we have a bag that has an Easter story that is connected to specific candy bars. And so you're going to get one of those bags per family, and then there's another little bag of candy for your kids going home. I would encourage you to throttle that a little bit, because there's quite a bit of candy in those bags. And so if you don't want kids hopped up on sugar all day, but I would encourage you to use that story that's in that bag maybe around the dinner table today or before bedtime this evening. Again, we're so glad that you chose to join us at CVC for Easter Sunday. In just a few moments, we're going to have a baptism so that we can celebrate someone who is going public, to let all of you know that she has trusted Jesus to be the leader and forgiver of her life. And we're actually going to sing a little bit as well. So would you stand and sing and worship with us as we close? Thank you for listening to today's sermon from Cuyahoga Valley Church. We hope you've been encouraged and challenged. If you're looking for a home church and would like to learn more about what we believe, upcoming events, or ways to get involved, please visit our website at cvconline.org.